Unreasonable accommodation, that is the topic of tonight's Byline. This story out of Halifax is really bothering me. We told you the story of Sonia Powers yesterday. She's the 17-year-old girl that was told in her Aikido class that it would be divided by gender. Men on one side of the room, women on the other, in order to accommodate a Muslim man that enrolled in the class. The class was run out of the Lakeside Community Centre owned by the City of Halifax. The city and the Nova Scotia Human Rights Commission both supported this gender segregation. All of that bugs me, but it was what Sonia and her mother, Michelle Walsh, told Sun News was the reaction of the sensei when they complained that's really getting me.
I asked to speak to the sensei and told him that I'm outraged with this. This is a form of discrimination. This is disgusting. And he said, "Jets, you better get used to it because this is going to happen more and more in Canada."
You better get used to it. Well, I have news for you, Sensei. I bloody well won't. And that's what I thought. And then last night after the show, I just kept steaming about this issue. And I realized that I was bothered because the sensei's right. This will happen more and more in Canada, but not because I want it or you want it. It won't happen because the majority of Canadians or even the majority of Muslims want it. But it will happen because of cowardly political leaders and bizarre, twisted human rights commissions that no longer believe in real human rights. Look at the University of York decision. A male Muslim student in an online course that did require some group work asked not to work in a group with women. This wasn't a group program that required contact. He wouldn't have to hug the women or even be alone in a room with a woman. It was a group project. Meet at the library or something. The professor said no. The student thought about the professor's reasoning, and in the end, the student decided the prof was right. He would work in the group with women. But the administration says the prof's wrong and the student must be accommodated, which means the university administration is accepting of gender segregation at a Canadian university. So too is the Ontario government, which said York University took the right steps in consulting with the Human Rights Department, the student, and other faculty in coming to their decision. Blah-diddy-blah, blah, blah. Are these the only accommodations made for Muslims in Canada that won't be made for anyone else? Because these two events on their own won't change the nature of Canada. But as they say in the infomercials, just wait, there's more. We know that there's been a push to get religion out of education, whether we're talking about elementary school Christmas concerts or at the university level. But of course, it's not all religions. Because the University of Regina spent a hefty chunk of change, $35,000, to install special foot baths for Muslims to be able to wash their feet before heading to the campus prayer room. The University of Regina is far from alone. Simon Fraser, UBC, universities across Ontario and Quebec have also installed foot baths paid for with taxpayer or student money. Would they install a special prayer room for me if I was a student? Would they pay using student fees or tax dollars to install a chapel for Eucharistic adoration? Not a chance. But given that the federal government has just announced they'll spend $20 million to double the number of foreign students to roughly 450,000 per year, we will see more of this, more foot baths, more accommodation. Why? One of the key target areas in this program is the region of North Africa in the Middle East. That means countries like Libya, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, places where Islamism is rising. We must leverage international education to Canada's maximum advantage, Ed Fast said. Well, trust me, this will be part of the advantage we get. More demands for unreasonable accommodation and more acquiescence from our political masters. We already have what are essentially Muslim-only swim pools or swims at public pools across Canada. The windows are blocked out, change rooms are locked so that men and women not only don't swim together, but they can't see each other. It's another Islamic accommodation. We've had a ruling from the Supreme Court in 2012 that said Muslim women can testify in court with veils over their faces, denying the accused the right to face their accuser in open court. In Canada, that no longer applies. We allow veiled voting. The Conservatives did try and ban this when the issue came up a few years ago, but that was during their minority government days, and the Liberals and the NDP blocked it. Back in 2010, I broke the story of airport workers allowing Muslim women to board a plane without checking their ID. Mick Flynn of Bradford, England, actually captured the scene on video. A man approached the final check prior to boarding the plane. He handed over all the ID for the women traveling with him. They were all veiled, and they were just waved through. Seeing the man's face was good enough. Then Transport Minister John Baird called for changes, and that was criticized by opposition parties and special interest groups. There used to be more cultural confidence in Canada, in the Western world in general. Now we cower when someone asks us to violate our core principles for their gender apartheid ways. I say no. I say no to unreasonable accommodation. I say no to the veil and covered faces of any kind. I say no to the barbaric practice of female genital mutilation. And Liberal leader Justin Trudeau might find that a little harsh. Well, tough on him. I'm more in line with Sir Charles Napier, who, when he was in India for the British Empire, witnessed attempts to burn a woman alive atop her husband's funeral pyre. He asked why this would happen and told, it's local custom, don't worry about it. His reply, you say it's your custom to burn widows, very well, but we have a custom. When men burn a woman alive, we tie a rope around their necks and we hang them. Build your funeral pyre. Beside it, my carpenters will build a gallows. You may follow your custom, and then we will follow ours. We need to find that kind of backbone again before Canada is no longer recognizable. And that's the byline.
And also, the man didn't want to bow to show men or sensei or senpai, which are all like three things that you have to do. Because in martial arts, it's all about respect, and bowing is how you show respect in Japan. So this man said that he only bowed to Allah. So the sensei said, okay, don't bow to anyone.
All right, Chris Sims has been following this story out of Halifax. Sonia Powers joins us now. And Chris, I understand that you checked in with the city of Halifax to find out what their process is, and you didn't get very far.
No, I didn't, Brian, and I think we have a clip of the spokesman, Mr. Elliott, for the City of Halifax. After speaking with Sonia Powers and her mom, Michelle Walsh, just moments after that tape was finished, I went to City Hall here in Halifax, a few blocks away from the legislature, and I said, what gives? How is it that someone's gender gets trumped by someone's religion? I've had this 17-year-old girl pleading with me saying, what do? I'm born a woman. I wanted to finish my Aikido class and I couldn't do it without feeling like a dirty, unworthy, second-class citizen in my own country in a public space. And this is the response that I got. Does religion always win, or does gender get to win sometimes?
That's a hypothetical situation, and every situation would be considered differently.
What can you say for people who maybe want to have their teenage daughters involved in public activities in public places and who could be told to stand at the back of the room?
Well, that doesn't sound like it's general. You've just been very specific.
That man is both charmless and a fool. This is the kind of mealy-mouthed responses that we need to fight back against.
It really is, and they really are, Brian. And I must point out that as far as any level of government, the strongest statement I heard came from Minister McKay just a few minutes ago. It was sent to my email.
We do have that up on a board. We were able to get that in quickly if we can bring that up. Peter McKay making a statement about this. He said, it is Canada's uncompromising commitment to gender equity and inclusivity which makes us proud to call ourselves Canadian. If we believe that it's unreasonable to consider allowing theology to undermine universality, we are indeed on a slippery slope towards segregation. Kudos to the Conservatives. They've stood up several times. I'm worried about what Ed Fast announced yesterday and what that will bring in terms of more calls for unreasonable accommodation. But this really is a case of people saying, we'll bend over backwards, violate core principles for whatever you put forward.
Exactly, and that's what the sentence I got from the girl and her mom. And I want to just put this out there very, very clearly. This is not an attack on religion or an attack on Muslims or anything of the sort. The fact that men and women are equal and are allowed to be in the same place at the same time in the same space in a public space is fundamental. So the idea of reasonably accommodating that, there's no accommodation there. Men and women are allowed to be together, full stop.
It's not an attack on religion to say in a public space this is how it happens. If they went in and said in your mosque you must do this, or in the Catholic Church you must allow women to be priests, that would be an attack on religion. That would be government overstepping. But to say in a public space men and women are treated the same, that's a core Canadian value. I'm sorry.
Exactly, and you don't need to be sorry. That's the reason why we've gotten to this point, is people keep on saying, well, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry,
Good
but.
point,
And
Chris.
I was so
Good
impressed
point.
by I was so impressed by everybody does it. I say it too, don't worry. I was so impressed by Ms. Powers' strength and how clear she was by saying, I should not made to be feel like a second-class citizen, like somebody dirty, filthy, and unworthy and disgusting just because I'm a girl, because I'm a woman. And the fact that she had to say that out loud and is being seen now as strong in this year in 2014 in Halifax is disturbing. And I just got off the phone with the Women's Centre at SMU, and even they, Brian, are saying, yeah, well, that's not good that they said that to her, but what about his religious accommodation? There can't be accommodation in a public space for gender apartheid.
We'll leave you, Chris, but I'll leave the audience with a quote from the book that was handed out by this man. We'll see if the Women's Centre feels the same way. Chris, thanks so much. The book handed out by the man that joined the class was called Islam from Light to Darkness. It did not have good things to say about women. When a woman chooses to show her body in one form or another, the message is only one. She wants attention, and possibly much more. That's the book the man handed out. Women are defending that?